Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're joining me from. My name is Stephanie Whitcomb, and today I am going to be teaching a class on our Sophistone color. We're going to go through our product knowledge of our process on how Sophistone was developed briefly, and then we will be going over our permanent and our demi line, as well as the support products, our controller, our carbonated shampoo, and all the things. I would like to ask if you could please put your name, your salon name, as well, excuse me, as well as your email address in the chat. That would be wonderful. That way we can make sure that you are given all of the information that I go over as far as the presentation and the recording, if you would like that. We are recording this video just so everybody is aware. And yep, feel free to go ahead and throw that in the chat, name and salon, as well as a contact email. That would be fantastic. And then throughout the presentation, I will stop periodically and give you guys the opportunity to ask questions. You are welcome to ask questions, just kind of talking, verbally, or you can pop it in the chat. I will check the chat when I get a notification on a question. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started talking about Sophie Stone. And if everybody could make sure that their mics are muted, I would appreciate that. That just keeps me from being distracted about little
You see how I
sounds.
put that in the refrigerator for
Mm.
you?
So if you could go ahead and mute your microphone, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. All right. Sophie Stone. So first of all, let's kind of go over what is Sophie Stone, right? What does that even mean? Kind of a weird word, right? Those of you that don't know me, one little fun fact about me is I used to live in Japan and I lived there for 3 years. As you know, Milbon is a Japanese company. And something that I learned in my time over there as I was learning the language was that they love to make really cutesy words out of regular words that we use, and they make them kind of cute and fun and easy to remember. So Sophie Stone actually stands for sophisticated science, exquisite tone. Sophisticated science, exquisite tone, and you squish that together and you get Sophie Stone. So that's where that came from. So it does have meaning behind it, which I think is kind of cool. So Sophie Stone was actually, it took us 10 years to develop. That's, more than that for it to actually kind of launch in the US, but we did take 10 years to really study what salons in the United States were using and how we could create a really great product for the United States. If you didn't already know, Milbon is actually the number one professional hair color brand in Japan, and we're the number one professional hair care brand in all of Asia. So we have a really long history of over 60 years of creating hair care in the Asian market. And our color has been around for quite some time as well. So we wanted to bring our color to the United States, but we realized that color in the United States and color in Japan are very different. In Japan, they actually work off of a 20 level system, so it's very different than here. I always joke around that it's 20 shades of brown. It's not, they have other colors, but there's a lot of different nuanced browns over there because they tend to do more darker colors. So when we came to the US and we wanted to launch our color here, we needed to come up with a formula that was going to work for the diverse market of the United States. So we have people from all over the world, very differing hair types, textures, colors, all of that. So we needed to make a color that worked for that. So we worked with over 50 salons. We created well over 4,000 prototypes, working on 1,000 different models in order to come up with what we think is the perfect formula for the United States market. So we've created all of our own products in our R&D facility. We actually employ over 1,000 R&D scientists to create high quality color. And like I said, it's the number one professional hair color in Japan. So, sophisticated science, exquisite tones. We have been creating our color for over 30 years, this professional high quality color in Japan. And we are really focusing on the healthy hair foundation while inspiring creativity. So, we're using advanced technologies and conditioning formulas to create this beautiful collection that has captivating colors and reflective shine. So, let's go ahead and get into our permanent, Sophie Permanent. So first I want to show you a color wheel that we have created for Milbon specifically. So our color wheel is a little bit different as far as we've added in this little triangle section that we throw into the center. The reason that we did that is we have some colors that are beiges, we have a gray ash, and we have a brown, and then of course our natural in the center. And we wanted to show you where do those live on a traditional color wheel. So our beiges tend to be a little bit closer to the yellow. Our gray ashes are living on the cool side towards blue, and our brown is it's not a red, but it does tend to live in the more warm area of brown versus the yellow area of brown, the more red area of brown. Our natural is interesting because it's a tan. It's not an actual brown, so we separate natural from brown. So our brown when you're talking, I'm sorry, our natural when you're talking our neutrals in our color line, think of tan. Tan has less yellow and less red than brown. So it's more of a neutral, an actual natural. Our numbering and lettering system, we give you all the information. So no matter what color line you've learned from originally, it's very easy to transition to our Milbon numbering and lettering. So the when you're talking about the numbering system, our first number that you're going to see is going to be the level, right? In this case, it's level 7. Then there's a slash, and then you'll have a number after the slash. That first number is going to be your primary tone. That is the main tone you're going to see in that color. The secondary number is going to be the depth or secondary tone. Okay. So depending on the color you're looking at. Same thing is going to be with the lettering system. The number is the level. The first letter is going to be your primary tone. The second letter is going to be your secondary tone or your depth. Optimized shades. So all of our shades have been optimized to create the perfect color. So again, when we're talking about naturals, our natural, the dominant tone, the big circle here is going to be tan. That is what is going to show you that natural neutral. But we are going to enhance our naturals with green yellow. The reason we enhance it with green yellow is to keep that neutral. It's not going to go warm. It's not going to get too orange. It's not going to change or go muddy. It's going to stay neutral. The green will make sure that it doesn't get too warm by counteracting any reds that are unwanted. And that yellow is going to give it kind of a nice, stable glow so that it doesn't turn muddy. Our reds are also enhanced by violet. That doesn't mean they show up as a red violet. That means that that red stays red. It doesn't oxidize into an orange. It's going to stay red. And our gray ash is supported by gray blue. That means our gray ash is going to stay a true cool gray. It is not going to turn into a muddy green ash or something like that. It's going to stay a beautiful, cool gray color. This sheet is going to show you a tonal breakdown. This one you're seeing on my screen is going to be a combination of our permanent and demi colors all in one chart. You will also find this chart broken down by permanent and by demi separately in your swatch books. So every swatch book contains this, and I highly recommend that this is utilized. This is going to be how you create formulas of your own, how you recreate favorite colors, maybe from a different line that you are wanting to create with Milbon. This is going to tell you exactly what is in that bottle or tube. So let's break a few down so that you can understand. So let's take a look really quick. I like to look at blue first. So blue, the letter is B, it's a /1, and it's going to show you in color. It is a large blue circle and a small gray circle. That is showing me that what is in that tube or bottle is blue and supported by gray. Then it's going to tell you in words exactly what I just said and why you would use it. So if you need a better description, you can read the description. Let's go ahead and take a look at our copper. So we have copper, C/4. The copper big circle is orange. That little circle is an orange red, and it is going to tell you exactly what is in that tube. Let's go down to beige matte. Beige matte is a demi. It's an BES, the letters. It's going to be a A2. And it is going to show you a large circle, which is going to be a gray yellow, and then a small circle, which is going to be a tan green yellow. So this is going to show you what is in the bottle, what is the main color, and what is the supportive color. So this is going to allow you to customize and know exactly what you're working with at all times. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about
Vai,
our
ce
permanent
frumos ai
color.
făcut ăsta.
If you could please make sure that your mic is muted, I would appreciate that. That way I don't get distracted. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'm just going to check the chat real quick before we get on and just make sure there aren't any questions so far. Yes, please mute. Thank you so much. All right. Yes, you can get a recording. Please, if you would like the recording and if you would like the presentation, make sure that your name and email is in the chat, and that is how I will be able to get that to you. So yes, you can absolutely get a recording. Thank you so much for asking. Of course. Okay, permanent color. Let's go ahead and get on with that. So our Sophistone permanent color has 70 beautiful shades, 14 tonal groups, 4 high lifts, and 5 intensifiers, and now we have clear. So there are some new items. So if you haven't looked at Sophistone in a while, you're going to notice that we'll have some new items that we'll talk about, which are actually really exciting and have allowed us to really expand our permanent color line. So you'll also notice that if we're talking about developers, we've added 5 volume. So you'll see we have everything from 5, 10, 20, 30, and 40 volume, allowing us to really fully customize the line. And now you can use the 5 volume to create a alkaline demi out of any of our permanent colors. So you have all of our permanent colors, you have 5 volume, you can mix 5 volume 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 to create either a 5 volume low lift or an alkaline demi. We'll get into more of that as we move on with the shades. But first, let's talk about technology. So our key technology with our permanent color is our intensive color delivery system. That is our double adhesion technology. So Sophie permanent color has an advanced color delivery system. This allows color molecules to adhere to hair strands more effectively, delivering more vibrant, longer lasting color results with exceptional coverage. Our color molecule carriers actually have 2 anchors. That creates our double adhesion technology. So with 2 anchors, they're able to hold on to the hair shaft more securely. That's going to give you better color retention. So better color delivery, better color retention. So we're going to have up to 100% gray coverage and beautiful shine, long-lasting results with that color molecule that has the dual anchor system. So you're taking a look here at these microscopic images of the hair. On the left-hand side, you're going to see two slices of a hair strand. We're looking inside that strand. Without the double adhesion technology, you're able to see there is color deposit. However, with the double adhesion technology, the color deposit is greater. It's going to last in the hair longer. It's going to deposit better. So you're going to get more color retention out of your permanent color. It's going to last longer, and it is going to deliver better. Let me check the chat here. I just saw two new things. Okay, perfect. All right. The other technology that is a part of our permanent color is our superior spreadability and control. It's called form shifting technology. Our form shifting technology was created specifically for the stylist to make sure that you're able to move the product through the hair effectively, but it's going to stay exactly where you put it. So you're going to place it where you need it, and it's going to stay where you need it. It's not going to melt and shift. It's going to stay exactly where you need it. That is our thixotropic complex that gives these products excellent spreadability during application while helping the color stay in place for more precise placement and better control. This is due to the formula's innate ability to transform from a semi-solid into a creamy texture. So what I find with this, why I like to use it behind the chair is for a few reasons. One is if I'm painting color on, I'm able to spread it really easily and then it doesn't drip off or move. And then the other thing is when I'm dealing with hair that's more coarse, gray hair that tends to stick up and out of color, you're able to actually apply this color onto the hair and it's going to lay that hair down really nicely. And that coarse or gray hair is not going to pop out of the color. Is the color tone on tone and is a 6 of 6? What is the shine? Those are great questions. So the color is going to be, we'll get into the color chart here in a second, so I'll be able to kind of get that for you. Is a 6 of 6? Absolutely. So it's really going to depend, of course, on what color line you're coming from. I feel like our permanent colors are going to be because they are the double adhesion, they have a really nice pigment base. They're going to give you 100% gray coverage. So you're going to have high shine, a lacquer-like shine, but full coverage on level. Okay, full coverage on level, high shine. And we'll get into the colors here in a second. Talking about that shine, we're going to get into our conditioning formula. So our formula has protective, replenishing lipids. This is going to make you feel like that hair had a conditioning treatment. It is going to take care of that cuticle. It's going to restore the protective layer on the hair, giving long-lasting vibrancy. It's going to reduce roughness up to 60% on that hair. The shine enhancer that is in this color is a naturally derived xanthan gum, and it's going to weightlessly condition and give you a lacquer-like shine. So very high shine with this color. We'll get into the colors here in a second. Our clear, first of all, I want to talk about permanent clear. This is new to our color family, and it is in a color tube. It is essentially a color without pigment, right? So it's permanent clear. Our permanent clear is unique because it has a botanical oil infusion. So the botanical oil infusion in our permanent clear is actually meant to keep the scalp calm. It's going to calm that scalp. It's going to make sure that you don't get any irritation on the scalp whatsoever. And you're actually able to lift up to 4 levels depending on your developer, or you can mix our permanent clear with other shades in order to create pastels, lighter levels, more translucency. So you're able to really push the color and change the value of the color with our permanent clear. I love to use our permanent clear with maybe a 10 volume to clean up the ends on a blonde. If I'm doing a highlight and the ends of the hair are old highlights that look like maybe they're a little dingy, I don't really want to put lightener on those ends. I can use permanent clear and 5 volume or 10 volume, and that'll kind of clean those ends off as a beautiful clear color and pull off any residue that's on there and give a beautiful bright blonde. That's hard to say. So there's many ways to use our permanent clear. Our mixing ratio is going to be 1 to 1. It is 1 to 2 when you're talking high lift, right? So that's traditional with high lift. You would do 1 to 2, but every other color is going to be 1 to 1. You can use developers from 5 to 40. Processing time is 35 minutes for our permanent color, 40 minutes for resistant gray, and 50 minutes for high lift. All right, let's talk about colors. So this is our beautiful color line. Again, you can see it much more beautifully in our swatch book. Um, so what I want to kind of direct you towards is first on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see our naturals. Anything that has an N in it is going to give you up to 100% gray coverage. So we have our naturals level 10 down to level 2N. These are going to give you up to 100% gray coverage on most hair types. We did add in our double naturals, our NN series. The reason we created NN is for coarse hair. Okay, so this is for coarse hair. NN is going to have extra pigment. It is going to help fill in that coarse hair. Coarse hair has a larger diameter to it than fine hair. So it needs more pigment in order to get that 100% gray coverage. I'm checking my chat. Can you use heat or steam during processing? Heat is not recommended with any Milbon color. We do not recommend heat. However, I have used steam. I think manufacturer's recommendations is no heat whatsoever. I have a micromist processing unit that I use for head spa, and it has a very light micromist steam. I have used that when I process color. It has not affected the color at all. So I think that from my trial and error, it has been okay. But heat is not recommended. It's not needed. Then we have our natural gold, our natural brown, and our natural gray ash. So these colors are pre-mixed and they will give you up to 100% gray coverage. You don't have to add anything to them. Just go right out of the tube. You're good to go. If you would like to use any of our warm or cool tones for gray coverage, then you are going to need to add at least a quarter of your formula needs to be a natural to get gray coverage. Okay, so pretty traditional. It's like that with a lot of color lines. So for example, if I wanted a copper 7C, but I needed gray coverage, I would make a quarter of my formula, maybe 7N, and then I would do the rest of the formula 7C and use my 20 volume for gray coverage. And there you go. You'll have a copper that has gray coverage. If you're not looking for gray coverage and you're just wanting a permanent color, then in our warm category, we have gold, copper, red, and brown. The BR, again, is a brown. It's a very rich chocolatey brown. And then we have cool tones, blue, blue, green matte, violet, and gray ash. Our blue is going to give you a beautiful cooling blue color. It is a blue base. There is no brown in it. So it's going to be very nice to counteract orange tones in the hair. Our blue is going to be for coarse hair. So it's a double pigment, just like our natural. We do have a very beautiful 1BB that's going to give you the most beautiful blue black. Highly recommend. It's a beautiful color. Our green matte is wonderful for canceling out red tones in the hair or orangey red tones in brunettes and creating that beautiful mushroom brown. Our violet is gorgeous. It is um, a violet pigment, and then it's supported by like a mauve color. So it's going to give you the most beautiful true violet tone. It's beautiful on blondes. It's beautiful for lifting lighter colors. And then, of course, we have the violet in the darker shades as well. And then our gray ash is going to be a really nice, cool gray. A lot of people are enjoying using like the 9 gray ash for gray blending. It's a really nice way to transition a client that way. And then going over to our specialty tones. So we have high lifts. So there are 4 different shades of high lift. And then we have intensifiers. We have blue, yellow, red, violet, and gray. They can be added to any of our colors to custom create. And then we have, again, our permanent clear. Everything is interchangeable, mix and matchable, so you can really have fun creating whatever you need. All right. Before I move on to Demi, I do want to talk just a little bit about our 5 volume because it is brand new. So, any of the colors you see here on this chart, you can actually make into a Demi by using our 5 volume. You can mix it either 1 to 1 with our 5 volume. That's going to give you a half a level to a level lift. So if you need to break the base, you're wanting a little bit of a lift on the natural hair, you can go ahead and use a permanent color with the 5 volume 1 to 1. If you want zero lift, but you want to use a permanent color, making it into a demi, you can mix it 1 to 2 parts 5 volume. That's going to give you no lift, but it is going to give you a alkaline demi. Okay, so that's another way to use our 5 volume with our entire permanent line is adding the 5 volume and the permanent together. You can also use it for base bumping if you need to as well. If you want to use 5 volume for that, as well as for gray blending. So if you're not wanting that opaque 100% coverage of over gray, you're just wanting more of a gray blend, I highly recommend using one of our permanents with 5 volume, and that's going to give you that gray blending effect, a little bit more translucent, but still more coverage than a demi. All right. Any questions on our permanent color before I move into demi?
Question. I am new to the Milbon line, but I wanted
Yeah.
to ask. I noticed that there was like some oh gosh, what do they call that? Yellow like additives put into some formulas when I was
Yeah.
looking over some literature. Can
Uh-huh.
you tell me why the yellow was into that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can. That's a great question. Thank you. So in our permanent line, we actually just recently came out with our yellow intensifier. So that's probably in some of the newer literature that's been out. We've been kind of highlighting it because it's new. It just launched and we wanted to make sure people were aware that we have it. Anytime you're adding an additive, you're just enhancing or counteracting a tone, right? So in a lot of those formulas, our newer formulas, when we're adding yellow, we're really trying to add reflect and glow to the formula. So a lot of times it's a brown, right? If we're adding yellow to a brown formula, that means that that formula is going to have like an internal glow to it. It's just adding some richness. It's keeping it from looking flat. If you're adding yellow into copper or a red, it's going to add more vibrancy. If I'm adding yellow into a violet formula, that's going to do that iridescence, right? Because yellow and violet tend to counteract each other, but it makes this beautiful iridescent tone. So it's just really a way for you to fully customize and change the color. You can do the same thing with our any of our intensifiers, the reds, the blues, violets, and grays, adding your own flavor to make whatever color you're looking for. Does
So
that
when
answer your
somebody,
question? Yeah.
yeah, so when somebody gets the education behind Milbon and
Mhm.
this color, I mean, I come from behind the chair. Now I'm an account manager, but
Yeah.
really, so when I am adding the yellow. I mean, how many tones are there? Is it just the yellow or is there other tones?
Yep. So right here on the side of
Oh
the
yeah,
sheet,
I
you're
see
going
it.
to see the
Yeah.
intensifiers. We've
Mhm.
got blue, yellow, red, violet, and gray for permanent. And then there's going to be another chart for demi. So these are the
Mhm.
tones that you can add. And you don't have to add tones ever. It's really personal. It's, if you want to add or counteract. The other cool thing about the tones is you could, let's say I have a level 4 brunette that comes in and I'm doing a gray retouch on her. And she just really wants a little bit more vibrancy to her brunette, but she doesn't want to change it. She just feels like it's dull. I could actually take the permanent clear and I could take a little bit of yellow, add that in there, and then I could do 2 parts 5 volume to make it into a demi and gloss her with that to give her the shine, to give her a little bit of yellow reflect, and that kind of, so that's an option, right? I don't have to do that, but I could. So it just gives you more, it's like paint to play with, right?
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand.
I'm
Thank you.
Great. You're so welcome. I'm going to read in the chat. There's another question. It says, if you can use as a base bump, then does it slightly lift? Should I adjust the formula to a level darker if I'd like to use it all over as a demi? That is a great question. So when you're creating it as a demi, you need to understand whether you want to lift or not and whether how alkaline do you want it to be. So yes, the clear will lift up to 4 levels because it's ammoniated. Okay. So if I want no lift at all, every permanent color is ammoniated, right? If I want zero lift, then I need to do 2 parts 5 volume. Okay, 2 parts 5 volume, 1 part permanent color. That is going to create a slightly alkaline demi, but a closer to the neutral that's not going to give you a lift. 2 parts 5 volume, 1 part permanent color that won't base bump, that you're just going to gloss them over. Okay. If I want to do that base bump and I want a slight lift, I'm going to make it a little bit more alkaline by having more ammonia in the formula, meaning I'm going to have 1 part color or clear, 1 part 5 volume. So equal parts 5 volume and color is going to create a true like alkaline demi with a half a like a half a lift to a half a level lift. I couldn't think of my word. A half a level lift to a full level lift. Okay. So a half a level to a full level, that slight base bump is going to be a 1-to-1 5 volume and permanent color. Okay. 2 parts 5 volume, 1 part permanent, no lift. Great question. And then we're going to get into the demi, and that has no lift at all. So you can also do that as well. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Demi. If you think of any other questions, please feel free to throw them in there and we'll get to them. But we will move on to Sophie Stone Demi Color. All right. So our Demi Color is a liquid color and it has 51 beautiful shades, 14 tonal groups, 4 intensifiers, and clear. It is masterly formulated. It is ammonia free, deposit only liquid gel. It's going to deliver consistent results. It's extremely predictable, and you can use it to be creative. You can use it for glazing. You can use it for refreshing, all the things you love to use a demi for. And then we have this beautiful CPD technology and coconut oil-based lipids to create the most beautiful, smooth, shiny results. So let's get into all of that technology. First of all, I do want to talk about our CPD technology. So, CPD technology is a 2 part system that we use in our color. The main reason that we came up with this CPD technology was because the water in America is crazy. Everywhere you are in America, the water's a little bit different, right? And it's because of metals in our earth. It's the copper piping that brings water in and out of our buildings. all the things, right? And our scientists noticed that when you're doing hair in Minnesota versus Florida versus California, the water is different and it's affecting our results. So our scientists came up with CPD technology to really encapsulate those metals that are in the water and remove them from the color process. What this does is it ensures predictable results every time you're using our color. So this takes the guesswork out of it. You don't have to worry about that color reacting funny on the head. So let's get a little bit deeper with what this means. So if you look at the image here on the screen, you're going to see little silver spheres floating around, and those are representing metals in the hair. There's metals in the hair because of the water, right? There's metals in our water. Gets on our hair, it's a problem. When we color the hair, the chemicals in the hair color will react sometimes to the metals, and they can cause that color to either oxidize too quickly, not absorb into the hair, oxidize strangely, not work at all. It can do all the things. That's how we end up with unpredictable results. So, our scientists created chelating encapsulation. This is an encapsulating agent that is represented by these dark colored spheres. It actually wraps itself like an envelope around the metals and it shields them from the chemical process. So it allows the color to do its job unbothered by the metals in the water and in the hair. That makes sure that your color process is predictable. You don't have to worry about that color turning a weird shade or not working. It's going to be predictable. So that's the thing I love about it the most is I can really guarantee that a 9 is a 9, a 7 is a 7. It's not going to get dark, anything like that. The other thing is the neutral pH configuration. So we did talk a little bit when we were talking about permanent color. We talked about alkaline toners. Alkaline is ammoniated and it lifts, right? A acidic toner has the opposite effect, right? It's more of an external toner. It's coating the demi, an acidic demi is coating the outside of the hair and it's not getting inside the cuticle. It's just staying on the outside. A positive to that is it processes quickly. A negative to an acidic demi is that it doesn't have the longevity because it's only external. So we created our demi. Milbon demi is neutral. It is a neutral pH. That means it's on the outside and slightly inside the cuticle. There is zero lift, there is no ammonia, and it is long lasting. So we feel like it's the best of all worlds and we love the way it works. Our permanent color, or I'm sorry, our demi color as well is not progressive. So it doesn't get darker the longer you leave it on. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it getting too dark if you leave it on too long. It can stay on the hair for 20 minutes and it's going to be a 9 is a 9, 8 is an 8, a 7 is a 7. It's not going to progressively get darker, so don't worry about that. I mentioned earlier our coconut oil-based lipids. This is a wonderful thing because it is going to make sure that that hair feels smooth and silky when you use our demi color. It is not going to be rough. It's going to feel like you had a treatment done to the hair just with the demi color. Smooth cuticle, really nice for the hair. It's going to give you a beautiful shine as well. So let's take a look at our demi-color chart. So we've separated it very in a similar way to our permanent. So we have our natural shades over on the left-hand side. We have a natural, a beige, beige matte, and beige gold. These beiges are a hot item right now. Most blondes, and even brunettes are really looking for that beigey tone to it. So the beige is going to give you just a really beautiful, not too warm, not too cool blonde. And then the beige matte is going to have a little green undertone. So it's going to make sure that it doesn't get too warm. And then the beige gold, of course, is going to have that beautiful spun gold look to it. It's gorgeous. Anything that is in our natural category can be used for gray blending. So if you're looking for an ammonia-free option for gray blending, you can use one of our naturals. And this is the only time we recommend heat with any of our hair color products. So you will take the natural, mix it with our processing lotion, and you're going to apply it to the hair under heat for 20 minutes. Rinse, and that is going to give you a gray blending effect. That will only work with anything in the natural series, okay? And that's the only time we want you to use heat with our Milbon Sophistone color. We also have a wide array of warm tones as well as cool tones. So we have our gold, gold copper, golden beige, copper, copper copper, copper red, and red. And then we have our blue, blue violet, green matte, violet, and gray ash. We also have our intensifiers, just like we talked about with permanent. We have them in demi as well. We have blue, yellow, red, and violet. And then we have a clear. So you will notice with our colors, we only go as light as a level 9 in a pre-mixed formula. There's a reason for that. We wanted our demi collection to be concise. It is created for artists, right? We can create our own colors out of all of these colors. We can make things, right? So we don't need to carry 500 different tubes or bottles of a 10. Okay, we don't need to spend the money on that. We don't need to have the inventory for that or the space. We can create a 10 very easily if we just take our clear and we mix it with our 9, right? So we can do 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, the clear and the 9 together. Now we have a 10. The reason I say 1 to 1 or 1 to 2, it depends on how much pigment, how porous the hair is, right? That's where your artistry comes in as to whether you're mixing it 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 with the clear. But the clear comes in a liter size bottle. So it is a large bottle of clear, and it is meant to be mixed as if it's a color with any of our colors to create different levels, different ways of shearing that color out. So she is in your color swatch book, and it is going to show you the mixing ratio is going to be 1 to 1. So 1 part demi color, 1 part processing lotion to create that liquid gel consistency. If you're going to use clear, you're going to mix it as if clear is a color. So demi color plus clear on one side of the ratio, and then processing lotion 1 to 1. Our processing time is 3 to 20 minutes. That is a very big window, right? And we do that on purpose because, like I said, this is an artist line, so you can use it as you need. 3 minutes is going to give you a flash tone. That's going to give you some of the color, not much longevity. Sometimes that's good to use when we're doing a color correction and we're filling or something like that, right? Or we're layering different colors. We can use that. Generally, as a rule of thumb, 10, 15 minutes is kind of the sweet spot for processing this color. 20 is excellent. If you leave it on for 20, you're getting max longevity out of the color. But most stylists, I feel like, are doing 10 to 15 minutes and they're getting a really nice result. So again, you're going to want to try to leave it on for that 20, but 10 to 15 is a good sweet spot. This is going to give you a little bit of direction as far as depending on your technique, processing times with it as well. This is going to also explain your gray blending that I talked about, how to mix that up, 20 minutes under regulated heat, 10 minutes to cool for optimal results. Any questions on our demi color before we move on? Clear is, yes, clear is a very important tool. I completely agree, Monica, completely. I love clear, especially with our demi. You can really create anything with it. All right. So let's move on to lightener. And it's kind of exciting because we do have a new lightener. So now we have 3. How great is that? So we have lots of options for our lighteners. First of all, my favorite is the Elite Powder. That one we've had for a while and I can't live without it. It is a 9 level lift lightener. Fantastic. This is my go-to. It is a clean lift. I absolutely love it. Then we have the Elite Clay, and I actually used that yesterday in the salon for doing a balayage. It's wonderful because it also lifts 9 levels, but it has that clay consistency. You can mix the lighteners together too, which is actually what I did in the salon because I couldn't leave my powder out because I love it so much. I actually mixed powder and clay together for the consistency that I was looking for. And then when we have our brand new Elite Multi Powder. We created Elite Multi Powder because it is a 7 level max lift. So it's a little bit gentler. So it's wonderful to use on people you're not having to lift super high. Maybe it's that, level 7 client that just needs a little sun kiss look. You're going to use that Elite Multi on them. Or if you're doing on the scalp lightening, the Elite Multi Powder is a gentler option for you to do on the scalp. Let's talk about the technology a little bit. So every single one of our lighteners has poly shield. Poly shield is like a netting that goes around the cuticle, okay? So this technology creates this little netting around the cuticle and allows that cuticle to open up just enough so that the pigment can leave the hair and you can create a lighter look, but it's not going to allow that cuticle to stay open too long and it's going to help it close nicely. The reason that's important is the cuticle accounts for 60% of the hair's strength. So if that cuticle is broken or damaged, that hair is becoming weaker. So we need to protect that cuticle when we're lightening. This is also going to ensure smooth results at the end. So we're not going to have that roughness. We're going to have very smooth, soft, silky hair when we're done. You can take a look at these microscopic images that are showing you with and without our polyshield technology using a lightener, and it is a marked difference in how smooth and soft that hair feels. I am always blown away when I'm rinsing out my lightener. Even though I've pushed the limits and I've lightened the hair as light as I can get it, it still feels silky soft. And that is really due to this polyshield technology as well as the guar gum that is in there to soften the hair. One other technology that we've added to our multi powder, so this is only featured in our Elite multi powder, which is the newest lightener we have, the 7 level lift, is we have a new anti-swelling chelating encapsulation technology. So remember I talked about chelating encapsulation with our demi? It's the same idea, and we've added it into our lightener. So with this, with multi-powder, it is making sure that any metals in the hair are not going to cause swelling. I'm sure you've seen foils that look like these without the technology that start to swell up off the head. That can cause bleeding, that can cause like sunspots in the design, things that we don't want. With our technology, that lightener is not going to swell. It is going to stay a nice thin packet foil. It's going to make your design look even better. So you can rely on those results. Mixing ratio and formulation. So we will mix our powder and clay lighteners and our multi-powder with anywhere from 5 to 40 volume, depending on what techniques you're doing. We recommend mixing 1 to 2, 1 part either powder or clay, 2 parts developer. Some people like to mix 1 to 3 for consistency. We never recommend mixing 1 to 1. 1 to 1 is too strong, too potent, too much powder. So 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 is what we recommend. Processing anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes up to 50 minutes. After 50 minutes, you're going to need to reactivate, add new lightener because the lightener is going to stop working. This chart here is going to show you the different options for lightening. So you're going to be able to see here, we have Elite Powder is lifting up to 9 levels. We highly recommend using it in a foil. Probably not using it for balayage open air. Foliage, Awesome. Really good for that. We don't recommend it on the scalp because it is really powerful. Elite clay is up to 9 levels. It's pretty good in foils, but again, it's clay, so it's a little thick in foils. It's really good as balayage because that's what it's made for. Foliage, of course, you can do it in that as well if you need feeling you need that extra incubation. And then we do not recommend it on scalp. Our elite multi powder is up to 7 levels of lift. You can use it in a foil. We do not recommend balayaging with it. Foliage, yes, you can do. So it needs that foil incubation. And we do recommend it, highly recommend it on scalp. This is going to be your on scalp lightener. Our permanent clear is actually mm, um, in with our lighteners because it lifts and it doesn't have any pigment, just like a lightener, but it's a gentler option. So it lifts up to 4 levels. You can put it in a foil. We don't recommend balayaging with it, but you can foliage with it and you can use it on the scalp. Remember, it has those protective botanicals in it as well. So it's really going to take good care of the scalp. Any questions on our lighteners before I go into our support items?
I do. Does which one did you say when you're doing a balayage? Does it have a cast to it?
Yes, the clay does. Yep, I'll go right back to that. Yep. The Elite Clay is a meant for balayage. That's what it was created for, and it does create a cast. So it will stay hard on the outside. The inside will stay nice and soft so that it can do its job lifting. And it will, you can move the hair all over the place without that cast flaking off. It's really nice and elastic. Hmm.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's not, it doesn't get like powder everywhere like some clays do. It's really flexible.
And can I ask you too, like, I don't
Yeah,
know, you probably use this behind the chair. When you
yeah.
cast it, like obviously you're starting from the nape up. When you
Yep.
when you fall balayage, are how long does it take to start forming that cast?
It's not very long. I mean, it's got to dry a little bit. So give it a couple of minutes. But I'm usually, I'll usually put, on somebody's shoulders, some sort of a protective plastic because I tend to get
Yeah.
a little messy. But then I'll take that hair, I'll paint it, I'll set it down. And by the time I'm done painting the section above, I can set it right on top without transfer. So
Okay, gotcha.
it really is a pretty quick casting. And then
Okay.
the entire time you're able to kind of move and flip that hair and bend it without it like breaking, everywhere. And yeah,
Perfect.
it's really
That's good.
workable.
That's good.
Hmm.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate
You're so
that.
welcome. Of course. Of course. All right. And I did mention, and just like piggybacking onto what we were just saying, is I did mention yesterday when I was in the salon, I actually mixed the powder and the clay. And the reason I did that is I tend to be, I feel like I'm a little older stylist. I was before clay was popular, is when I started learning to do hair. So I like my clay to be a little bit runnier. I don't like it to be super thick. That's just me. So the powder is a little bit lighter viscosity than the clay. So that's why I like that mix, but I'm not sacrificing lift or changing anything, and it's still casting for me because of that clay. So that's an option. You do not have to do that, but just know it's available. If you want to change that viscosity, you can mix them together. All right, let's get into the support items. All right, the first part of the support items is going to be our pigmented shampoos. They're pretty self-explanatory in the sense that we've got blue, we've got purple, and we have copper. So the purple and the blue, of course, are going to cancel unwanted either yellow or orange tones, and the copper is going to enhance. The way that I like to teach these is they are meant for professionals, okay? So they will stain your hands, they will stain your nails. Make sure you use gloves, okay? So use gloves with these. They're highly pigmented. And what I love is sometimes I even don't have to or don't feel like I have to even tone a blonde, I can actually just use the color balancing shampoo if they came out like a really nice clean blonde, but I just want to like tone them a little. You can take that shampoo and you can squirt it onto the head or in the hand, put it on the head very gently. Don't suds it right away. Okay, just move it onto the head. Let it sit in there for about 5 minutes. That's the toning magic happening. Then suds it up and rinse it out. You're going to have beautiful tone, okay? I've never turned anybody purple with it, so it's not quite that strong, but it's enough to tone a blonde or pre-tone if you're going to put a demi on top. It's wonderful for that. So again, purple, blue, and copper, really fun to play with at the bowl. All right. And next, we have our carbonated shampoo. Oh my gosh, if you have not tried this, I'm telling you, you are missing out. Even if you don't use Milbon Color in general, you should have this at your back bar. This is for every single stylist that does any kind of permanent color or lightening service. The reason is, first of all, for your client, it is a 4.9 pH, so it is going to bring the pH down on the hair. Very important after an ammoniated service. Second, it's microcarbonated, which is like skincare. It is meant to soothe the scalp. So your client is going to be so happy when you're scrubbing this onto their head. It is really going to get rid of any residue of chemicals, bringing that pH down and soothing the scalp. So your client is going to love it. The other thing is for you as a stylist, it is going to help you get rid of residual color on the scalp and in the hair so much easier. So just make your life easier with this carbonated shampoo. Highly recommend putting some in the palm of your hand. It comes out like a shaving cream, so it's like this big mountain of product. You're going to rub it in the hair, but definitely take some and pop it right at the nape, okay? Work it in that nape and then scrub it in, and that color is going to rinse so easy. It's just going to make your life easier. So this is really a key color product for every single stylist. All right, next I'm going to go over controller. Controller gets a bit sciencey, so bear with me because there's a lot of technologies with it, but this could be a real game changer for your color activity in the salon. The other really cool thing about controller is it can be used with any permanent color and any lightener. So yes, of course, I want you to use all Milbon products. I work for the brand, of course I do. However, if you're using other products in your salon, if it's a permanent color or a lightener, you can still use controller with them, okay? So if you love the products, you can use them with all the things, anything that is a permanent color or lightener. So let's talk about what does it do and why you want it. So this is our ultimate bond building treatment, but it's way more than a bond builder. Yes, it does that, but it does other really cool things too. So it's 4-in-1 care. It comes as a two-step system, controller one and controller two. You have to use them together or they will not work. Okay, you have to use them together. Controller number one is internal care. This actually is added in to your lightener or permanent color. Controller number two is external care, and you're using this after rinsing before shampooing. So we'll go over the step-by steps here in a second, but let's talk about technology first. All right, so what does this stuff do? First, let's talk about bond building. So the bond building is internal and external. So it is very unique. There is nothing else on the market like it. What this does is it can rebuild broken protein bonds by simulating both disulfide and peptide bonds. This is important because when we do chemical damage to the hair or a chemical treatment to the hair, we are breaking bonds, both peptide and disulfide. The disulfide bonds are the rungs of the ladder, the horizontal bonds, and the peptide bonds are the vertical bonds. Most bond builders out there only treat disulfide. We are treating both, which is going to make sure that it's extra strong and it stays in the hair and it's going to be resilient. We also treat the external part of the hair. This is an external bond builder that creates a robust protective layer in the 18 MEA area of the hair. That is the naturally occurring lipids on the outside of the hair. This 18 MEA is very important to protect the hair, to keep color looking fresh, to keep treatments in the hair, and allows the hair to be strong but flexible. So we are actually using cross-linked covalent bonds through the cuticle to create that 18 MEA layer. So it's a very smart technology-based bond builder, external and internal. But like an infomercial, that's not all, right? So we have our regulated heat control. That is the next technology. So regulated heat control. Have you ever had foils that have felt hot to the touch? I've even seen foil smoke in my day, which is super scary. You want to rinse that right away, right? And the reason that happens is the lightening process is a really serious chemical process and it creates heat. And that heat can damage the hair. We don't want that. So, what this product does is it actually regulates the heat so that it will warm up enough for the process, but it won't continue to get hot. So, it is going to regulate that heat to make sure that it stays steady, that hair is undamaged. Very important. And then finally, it's our metal encapsulation. So we've talked about this quite a bit with our color. It's very important to make sure that metals aren't in the hair disrupting the color function. When you're doing permanent color or lifting, metals can actually cause the hair to lift unevenly, or they can cause uneven deposit. So what this is going to do, it's going to encapsulate those metals, remove them out of the process, and allow that color or lightener to process as you planned. Okay, so it's for predictability. So this is showing you the disulfide and the peptide bonds. And when we are lightening on the right-hand side, you're going to be able to see there's breakage happening. There's bonds that are no longer together, and that's what happens when we're coloring. And so our controller is able to go in there and the little green what are those hexagons? Those little green hexagons are in there mimicking those bonds and helping it stay nice and strong. The external and internal, you're able to see internally, this is the way that it is creating those bonds. And then the external bond builder is actually attaching to where those bonds have been broken, and it is giving it a really nice, strong, and capable 18 MEA lipid layer. So again, it's all about strength and resilience for the hair. Here's a little bit of a larger view of our heat regulated heat control. So when you don't have regulated heat control, the hair itself can really heat up too high and cause that breakage. When you have that heat regulation, that hair is going to stay nice and damage free. And then finally, our chelating encapsulation, that is going to make sure that the color is going to lift and deposit evenly. So you're going to get a nice lift and a nice deposit without it being spotty. A lot of those spots that happen are because of metals interfering with the process. So this is a sheet that's going to show you how to use this product. I recommend if you get onto our Milbon Instagram site, so milbon.education, our education Instagram, there is a post that is pinned to the top of our Instagram for Milbon Education. It is going to show you a video on how to mix this product. Okay, very easy. But also, I'm going to make sure that I send you guys this so you'll have these directions as well. But it's really easy to see on our Milbon Education Instagram pinned post. The way that this works when you're mixing it is controller number one goes into your lightener or color. You are going to mix it and pump it into the product. It doesn't matter if you pump it in before the product's mix or after the product's mixed. At any time, pump it in there. Okay. You're going to measure it depending on how much powder lightener you use or color from your tube. So if you use less than an ounce or 30 grams of lightener powder, it's 2 pumps if you're using foils. If you're doing 30 to 60 grams, it's 4 pumps if you're using foils. 1 pump is equal to 1 gram. The ratio changes a little bit if you're doing on scalp, balayage, or permanent color because you're not incubating, okay? You're not adding that foil to create heat. So your pumps are less, 1 and 2. So again, you have your directions here. I usually make sure that you keep this in your dispense as like a recipe card. As you're mixing, it's very easy. Look how many pumps you need. You're good to go. Here's where it gets, you have to remember, not tricky, but just you have to remember. After you're done coloring, so you apply your lightener or your permanent color, you process as you normally do. You're going to rinse with water and stop. Don't shampoo. You need to use controller number 2 right away. Controller number 2 feels like a conditioner. This is taking care of that 18 MEA, that external bond, and it's get all your tangles out. It's wonderful. Work it in the hair, comb it through, rinse, now shampoo. Okay. If you shampoo first, that is going to disrupt what controller 1 is doing, and controller 1 and controller 2 need to be like back to back with only water in between them, no shampoo. Okay. So again, let me reiterate, controller 1 goes into your product. You'll see how many pumps to use depending on your method and how much you're mixing. You're going to apply your product as you normally do, whether it's lightener or permanent color, process as normal, rinse with water as normal, stop, use controller 2, work it all through as if it was conditioner, comb it through so it's all silky smooth, rinse, shampoo, continue on with the service. Maybe you're doing a demi, maybe you're done, who knows, right? Just keep going with that service, okay? So very, very easy, but it's important to follow the directions. I am telling you, you are going to see night and day differences in that hair. It is going to be so soft, so hydrated, so just silky and well taken care of. This is one of my favorite products out there. And again, you can use it with any color line, okay? But please use Milbon. Right. And then the other support items that we have is a scalp support oil. This scalp support oil is great. It is a aerosol type spray. You can use it on any color surface on the scalp. So if you have that client that comes in and gets like a gray retouch and they're always itchy, try this on them. It's not going to alter the color surface at all. Spray it on their scalp, then go ahead and apply your gray retouch like you normally would, and it's going to keep their head from getting itchy. You can also use it when you're doing on the scalp bleach. Fantastic scalp support. Our Face Protect cream is a barrier cream. So if you use this, color is not going to stick. So if there's areas you don't want color to stick, it's great. And our color remover works really well using orange peel oil and lemon peel oil to remove color away from the skin. So it's great on the face as well as on your own hands if you forget to wear gloves and you need to rinse that color off. Just so you know, we do have a ton of support items like capes and smocks, balayage, paddles, and then brushes and bowls. These carts are amazing. So if you're going to get any of our color kits, I highly recommend the carts. They're actually made by Takara Belmont. They are fantastic salon furniture maker, and they roll really well. So I actually have a few of these. I love them. And I think that is it for our Sophie Stone presentation. Are there any other questions that I can answer about Sophie Stone or any of the sport items?
Yeah, I had a question. So you were
Yes,
talking about the 1 and 2. So the 1 goes into your product, right? So this is
yes.
goes into the product after it's completely mixed.
It can be before it's mixed or after, it doesn't matter.
So it's not going to affect the developer, the strength.
Nope.
Okay, perfect. Then 2, so once you do that, you rinse, 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 and then you apply number 2. before
Yes.
shampooing. Okay, is there a time that you want to leave that two on? Is there like any kind of time?
Nope.
Like, do you recommend 5 minutes, 2 minutes, anything?
Nope. Just make
Okay,
sure you evenly distribute it. It is a
okay.
chemical thing that's happening. It's not like it's conditioning the hair. I mean, it feels conditioned, but it's like a chemical bond that's happening between one and two when you're applying it. So as soon as it touches it, did its thing. So just make
All
sure
right,
you evenly distribute it through the hair, then go right ahead and rinse and move on. Yep.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. The biggest thing that I can tell everyone who's using this product is follow these directions, please. If you do not follow the directions and you're like, I'm just going to put 5 pumps in there and call it good, it is going to disrupt your lift process. Okay. It's going to change the viscosity of your color. If you use it by the directions, like measure and use the right amount, it is not, you're not even going to know what's in there other than the fact that the hair is going to feel better. Okay. So just make sure you follow the directions. Any other questions?
All right, there's one, and one that says, can
Yeah.
you use the controller on extensions in the chat? Can you do that?
Oh, yeah, I need to look at the chat actually. Um, I don't know why you would, because generally you're not lifting extensions. So controller, you wouldn't use it. Um, you would not use controller with a demi. Oh, like when rooting them. Still though, I would probably be using a demi when I'm rooting. So really what controller's doing is it's protecting from lifting. And you're not really doing that with extensions, and you're not really going to be able to get really good bond building in extensions because of how processed they are, even though even though, yeah, you might get a little bit of a result, but I wouldn't use it with extensions. Yeah, just go for your demi. You don't need controller with demi, only permanent and lightener. So yeah, you don't need it with demi. When using permanent clear, what is the recommended developer when lifting? It really depends on how far you want to go. So, it can lift anywhere from 1 to 4 levels. 4 is going to be 40 volume, right? One level is going to be 10 volume. So it really depends on how far you want to go with that. You could put, I've done it with 30 volume to kind of, brighten it up. But just remember, it's just like lightener. So when you lift it, you're going to expose that underlying pigment. There's no pigment there to cover it. So it's probably going to be kind of ugly, but then you can color on top of it, right? So that's what we're doing with it. Let's see, we got another. Will permanent clear shift permanent color? Ooh, look at you breaking those rules. It can. So we all know that permanent clear can shift permanent color. It really depends on the hair and what color it is and all the things. So I don't want to guarantee it because it doesn't always work, but it can. So yes, you can almost use it like an eraser sometimes. So absolutely, you can kind of do that with high lift sometimes too, right? Even though manufacturers don't recommend that. But yes, test it. Yes, test it. I love that. I actually did this recently on a client. I used permanent clear and it did shift at like a half level, but the color she used was really dark, so it didn't quite. The lighter levels are a little easier to do that with. So great question. Look at you, hairstylist, breaking the rules. That's what we do, right? So good. All right. Thank you again so much for all of your questions and your time. If we don't have any more questions in the chat, I don't see any. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Thank you so much. And I will make sure to send you guys the recording as well as the printout. And then I am at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be doing a gold class as well if anybody's interested. Thank you again. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You guys are awesome, and we'll see you soon.